Hello, my name is Ned Dennison. I'm the chairperson of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. We have a special guest with us, Milko van Gool from the Netherlands. Please say hello, Milko.
Hi, everybody.
Milko's got an interesting story about his summer. He made a very ambitious plan to do five big marathon swims. So I want to catch up on Milko's career and then come on to that summer. So, Milko, first of all, tell us about your early swimming under the age of 10, maybe. Who taught you to swim? And did you learn in the pool, the sea, or the river?
Well, I'm first of all, hi Ned, and thanks for this interview. It's quite an honor. Um, I uh, I learned to swim like most Dutch kids in a pool. The swimming lessons for small kids are actually a national obsession here. We don't only have water on the coast, but water inland is everywhere, and the Dutch have, at least until recently, have always had a very, very solid program. And there's also just a it's part of a kid's education to learn to swim properly. And then many stay on and go into competitive swimming, and that's what I did. But I started learning to swim at the age of 4. I don't have many active memories of that. But we and I kept swimming and went into competitive swimming until the age of 12. The funny thing is then I was so fed up with the swimming, and especially with the competitive swimming, where you would go for one or two sprints and you would lose an entire afternoon in a race event. I went into volleyball. I've always been quite tall, and the funny thing is, I didn't swim and I didn't enter a pool from the age of 12 until the age of 21, 22, when I slowly picked up a bit of swimming during my student years, but really not much, once every 2 weeks maybe. And then it got serious again when I was 28. I joined a local masters group, got into swimming again, uh, liked it. I finally found the spark again. And then for a couple of years, 4 years, I really engaged in masters competition. A fairly mediocre swimmer. I mean, I did the sprinting, and I've only found out much later why I was so mediocre at sprinting. I mean, I have a good technique, but I'm not a very fast sprinter because I turn out to be a typical long distance diesel. So that's broadly speaking how I got into it. Swimming is part. Swimming used to be part of the of youth culture here. I mean, with budget cuts, etc., they don't learn to swim in schools anymore with predictable results for people who otherwise can't afford to learn to swim elsewhere. And drowning deaths are on the rise again, unfortunately. But that's how I learned it. So no,
When did you do
actually,
your
as a
first
teenager, I didn't even enter a pool.
when did you do your first open water 1500 or 1 mile swim?
I have a vague memory of a 4 kilometer swim that we got. That was before I left swimming for good, and they put us in a 4 kilometer open water race together with a few sprinting buddies. And we all hated it. And there were about 80 participants, and we came in. We were the last four. We ended breaststroke. We couldn't care less. We didn't like it at all, and they basically told ourselves never again. And it was only when I was in my 40s when I have stopped and started swimming several times in my career, in my life. But I was in my 40s. I was in Bangladesh. I was grotesquely out of shape. Went to the pool, managed to eke out 500 meters with a great deal of difficulty, and decided maybe it's time I do something about that. Joined the local masters group and found the love of swimming again. And then I did my first longer distance swim. There was a 10-kilometer swim in the Netherlands. I don't remember the exact year. It must have been 2010 or something. The temperature was 17 degrees Celsius. I remember that. I thought it was glacial. Little did I know of what was to come later, but then in that same group, there were a couple of Australians who told me about the Rottnest Channel swim, and that piqued my interest. And I said, okay, I'll start training for that. And they helped me, but told me what to do, how to train for that. So I upped the training a bit, went to Perth, did the Rottnest Channel swim, found it quite hard actually. I don't know why that swim is so hard, but I found it harder than later my English Channel swim actually. And I've gone back 2 years later to do it again, and I didn't do very well. I mean, I finished, but I ended up in the medical tent. So, uh, but it was enough to get to get a good taste of marathon swimming, and overall I liked it. I liked the training, I liked the lifestyle, and I most of all I liked the planning and the project-like, almost expedition-like approach that goes with it.
Milko, give everybody a quick overview of your career. You had interesting postings around the world in places that certainly most Americans won't know where they are.
uh, I was initially bound for a very different career. I was trained as a classicist, and I would normally have gone either into academia or into teaching, both of which I liked. I was actually working on a PhD thesis when I got recruited by the European Union, the European Commission, initially for its translation service. That was a bit of a mismatch. I didn't like it. But then I got into the external relations of the European Union. My first job started in 2001. I was had to travel a lot to the countries in Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, which was really a backwater and nobody had heard of it. But then in 2001, 9/11 happened. And suddenly that part of the world became pretty central, and the nature of my job changed as well. In 2004, Asha and I decided, we've always taken these decisions jointly, that we wanted to go into the external service to have our feet on the ground and more into development work. And my first job was, as these things go, they don't give you the tropical paradises first. They put me in the Central African Republic for 4 years, uh, which was a great experience. They only had one pool in that country. It was a 33-meter pool. And I still think I mean, I was completely untrained and badly out of shape, but I think I still hold the record for the national record for 33. I'm still the ruling champion because there have been no championships afterwards for the 33 and 66-meter freestyle. Um, that was great. So after the Central African Republic, to speed it up a bit, we went to Bangladesh. 4 very happy years for the family in Bangladesh. Then another year in Malawi. After that, we decided that the family, for various reasons, schooling reasons of the kids, we decided that the family would go back to the Netherlands. I took up a posting in Afghanistan for 14 months, after which I joined the family in Europe, not quite in Holland, because I worked in Brussels for a couple of years. They stayed in Holland where the kids went to school. In 2018, we all went to Pakistan for a posting that lasted 2 years. Went back to Brussels again, and in 2022, that was our last posting, our sixth posting abroad. Um, we went to Mauritius. We went to Mauritius and stayed there for 2.5 years. After which I decided to pack it up. The traveling has been enough. And to do other things in life. But that's more or less where my work took us.
How did you get the English Channel bug? Where did the dream start, and how did you make the decision and make your plan?
Right. Actually, that was there we go back to Bangladesh. So after being uh, horrendously out of shape, I little by little I started picking up. I managed to do that Rottnest Channel swim. And actually, after the Rottnest Channel swim, I said, okay, now I know that I can. Well, it's still a lot shorter than the English Channel, but I said I think I want to do the English Channel now. It had always been in the back of my mind, but there's something completely unattainable. Um, so I did an online search for coaches, and I had the good luck of falling on Marcel van der Tocht, who had been training, who was actually quite a well-known figure in open water swimming in the Netherlands. And I said, Marcel, I want to swim the English Channel. I have no idea how. And he did have an idea. So that's how it worked. We started. He gave me a plan. I think we had a year and a half of to work towards the English Channel. So I booked a slot with Paul Foreman. At the time, it was already getting pretty crowded in the channel, but it was still a little easier, I think, than than what it is now. Uh, and we started training. I had to learn everything, especially the long trainings. At that time, I still liked to do the long trainings. I'm not so keen on them anymore, but um, and that's how the bug caught me. And once the English Channel happened, it went very well, a little bit beyond expectation, actually. And that's you would think, well, that's the end of the road. It was actually the beginning of the road. After that, there were other swims that followed.
Give us a preview of those sort of next five big swims before we get to this summer.
Well, after the English Channel swim, I mean, I was posted in. I may be mixing up the chronology of the various swims, but I was posted in Bangladesh, and I got in touch with a couple of people there who had always been doing. They called it the Bangla Channel, which is from one part of Bangladesh to a little island, St. Martin's Island. So I took part in that as one of the few. I was not the only one. There have been other non-Bangladeshi swimmers, but it was them. I was one of the very few, and it was that's the great thing with these local, slightly unknown big marathon swimmers. First of all, you find out that there's actually an amazing amount of talent in places where that you've never heard of. There's very good marathon swimmers in India, in Bangladesh, maybe in other places as well. And you've never heard of them because you don't see them in the international circuit, but they're very good swimmers. Um, the next big thing was after the English Channel, though, as I said, I had heard vaguely about another channel swim, more or less the same length, but that would only take you if you had managed the English Channel, and that was the North Channel. And obviously, that piqued my interest. It sounded like a great challenge. It's probably a good thing that I didn't really know what I was letting myself into. Uh, because 2 years later, I did swim the North Channel, and it was an absolutely brutal experience. I mean, this summer we seem to have had a summer without too many jellyfish, but they were there uh, in in great numbers. Some people ended up in intensive care after a swim. They got stung so badly. I got stung 5 times, full body contact with and the temperature, and I was lucky. It was 14 degrees. But anyway, I got across in a good time. So that was, I would say that was one of the highlights and still one of the swims that I'm
Uh,
most proud of.
let's be more specific about the good time. What was the record you set?
It was 10 hours, 34 minutes.
And you were the fastest male at that point?
Yeah, yeah, I've always been a bit bothered by that because it was celebrated as, oh, Dutchman sets a new world record. And everybody forgot to mention that there were three ladies who had been faster. And that's one of the things that I've always been very proud of in this sport, that there's this gender equality. And that actually, in the really long, really cold swims, I think statistically, I haven't done it, but I think the women are actually doing are just better than the men. And so yes, but I set the men's record, and at the time, I obviously I was proud of that. But I was a bit bothered by the fact that nobody said, "Hang on, yeah, it's a men's record. The girls are faster." Yeah. So that was one. There were other swims, of course. Let me try and get the.
I'll help you. How about Scar?
Oh yeah, yeah. Scar was in Arizona. Was a first of all, it's a great experience. It's a fantastic event set up by Kent Nicholas, who's doing that out of the kindness of his heart. You meet swimmers from all over, and the backdrop to the swims, you've done it yourself, is just absolutely stunning. I've always never had to use a sunscreen factor 100, but there I did, and that was on top of the Sutter cream, and we just looked like white ghosts going through the water. Yeah. Um, no, that was a great swim. Remind me of the other swims.
You had Catalina in Manhattan to get the Triple
Yeah,
Crown.
yeah, Catalina. Obviously, once I had done the English Channel, you started looking at there's several of I think these bucket list swims, these triple crowns, etc., really help. By that time, I had been at the Cork Distance Week, and obviously saw the fun and the crack that the triple crown people had. As said, well, why not? That sounds like a great thing to go after. So I did Catalina. Um, I did the Manhattan around Manhattan, combined it with our first visit ever to New York. That was interesting. The swim was interesting. I still remember vividly the taste of the what is that called? It's not the Harlem River, but that little canal where I definitely tasted detergent in my mouth, and a lot of other things I probably don't want to know about. And I first learned the term what a Hudson or a New York jellyfish is. But that's not for polite company here. But people can ask me what it is later.
You retired in about April, May, and you told me I was visiting you in Mauritius. Thank you for hosting me. And you told me about your plan with the five big swims. How did this come about? This idea for five big swims, and how did you train for it?
Okay. Yeah, I've over the years I've grown very, very fond of especially Ireland and its swimming opportunities. I think that is in large part to, I mean, the Cork Distance Week teaches you how beautiful it is. Once you get used to the cold, I think the training waters in and around Ireland are just superb. They combine everything. It's cold, it's clear, it's clean, it's rough. It's the perfect, and it's just within what the human body is capable of in terms of longer distance. I mean, I don't think you could do marathon swims in below 10 degrees Celsius, but 12, 13, 14 degrees is still feasible. I like I like the community, and I thought I want to. And I had idea for a couple of swims. First of all, of course, there was my Bristol Channel unfinished business. 2 years ago, I did a first attempt, and I got really quite badly injured because of a rogue wave, and my rotator, there was a tendon in my rotator cuff that got torn, and it's still bothering me, by the way. It has bothered me last summer, but there was last year I tried it again, and I was weathered out. So this year, Bristol Channel had to be, it was unfinished business, and I want to get it over and done with. Then there was after the North Channel, I've always been looking at that map of when you look at Scotland and Northern Ireland and say, yeah, there's the North Channel, but that Dalriada Channel that Wayne Suter did a couple of years ago, not many people have done it, which adds to the attraction, I must say. It's very gnarly, and the currents are just amazing. I still don't know how the Infinity people managed to they managed to get people across, but I know they invested a lot of time and effort in getting to know those currents, including that's a great story. They dropped oranges into the sea and to see how the oranges behaved and how the currents behaved. I found that a fantastic story, by the way, but that's the extent to which they went. So there was the Dalriata Channel, and I've been that at least for 5 years, I've been looking at that stretch right at the top of Northern Ireland from the Scottish island of Islay straight down to Ballycastle. That swim has been done by a relay group, an Irish relay group, but it has never been done solo. And that was one of my ambitions. I would like to break in a new swim. Um, so that was, and so in the end, that made, then there was also, I was fascinated by since I like swimming in Ireland and Irish swimming so much, I said, the Irish Triple Crown is a really nice thing to do. And I had the North Channel. So I said, let me register for Fastnet. Let me try and get registered for Galway Bay. And with a lot of luck and considerable help from other people, I mean, I should mention Fergal Madden here, who volunteered to do the Galway Bay swim, and yourself to be an observer, and the Fastnet people. Um, and I said, well, that makes a series of five, and all happen to either be in or at least start or end in a Celtic nation, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. So I said, well, that's a Celtic summer. In the end, it all worked. Spoiler alert, the OI channel I had to give up because I had such a painful experience in the Dalriada channel that my shoulder was giving me hell. And I also could feel I was getting tired. The body was getting tired after several marathon swims and a long stay in Ireland. Not having your own food was more of a factor than I imagined. I've been in Ireland for a month. So after Dalriada, I had planned to do the OI channel, and I said, chances are that is not going to. My head was not in the right place anymore either. The suffering involved in doing in doing a swim that's longer and even colder than the North Channel is something you need to be at your prime. And after several swims and a long summer of swimming, I wasn't at my prime anymore. So that was the swim that didn't work out. But I was super happy with the other swims. They worked out. Fastnet, also thanks to superb plotting and piloting by Kieran Collins, the pilot. But I made that in a fast time. I improved the record. I'm sure it will be beaten very very soon. But it was a fun thing to do at age 58 to swim a record. Galway Bay. Oh, by the way, Fastnet, I was with you when I did a positive COVID test, remember? Yeah, so I probably swam the Fastnet swim with COVID, and I had a. And thanks again for hosting me while I was coughing the roof off your house. But uh, yeah, so that was my lungs have always been a bit of a. I had several bronchitises as well later this summer that required an in somehow they cleared up before the big swims, but um, yeah, that wasn't so good. Galway Bay was mediocre. I tried to do a fast time, but partly the weather and partly partly me. It just wasn't that good, but I got across. I got across. Um, then Dalriada was I was nervous for that swim because I didn't know what to expect. I knew it was a bit shorter than the North Channel, but and I was right to fear it because it's a nasty little. It's not a little swim. It's a very big swim. It's shorter than the North Channel, but goodness, it because you can see the two sides during the swim. You can always see both shores, and it's very disorientating because one moment you go to the right, then you go to the left, then you go to the, and you have no idea. And at some point, and my shoulder was really hurting, and I was close to giving up. At that point, I asked Porrick, and the coast seemed very close. I thought 3, 4 kilometers, I can hang into that. I said, Porrick, how far? I mean, that's the biggest mistake. You don't ask how far, but I did. I did. I mean, it shows my mental state at that moment. And he says, well, you've got at least another 12 kilometers. And I was very close to grabbing the ladder and say, okay, that's it. I'm out. That was it. But I said, okay, I'll give it half an hour without too much trust. But in the end, the painkillers started to kick in, and I sort of got across. But that was a hard swim. So sorry, I tend to drift off a bit, but I think I give you a bit of an overview of the five swim. They turned out to be four Celtic swims, and I'm happy with them.
So let's go through what you accomplished. You set a speed record in Fastnet. You accomplished the Irish Triple Crown. You
Yeah,
accomplished the Irish Grand Slam. You
yeah, I
accomplished
like
the
that one.
original Triple Crown. And your original Triple Crown time was the fastest.
From what I get, it's not. Apparently, it's not. I I actually don't know what the repository of the total times is, but if you simply add up the various times, then I think because I did reasonably well also in North Channel and English Channel, I think I have the fastest aggregate time for the original Triple Crown.
So I guarantee you one thing, when the Irish Long Distance Swimming Association has the annual awards in February, I'll be looking forward to collecting you at Dublin Airport and driving you up to Infinity's hometown. And at some point during the festivities, I'm sure something will be announced. How's that sound?
Um, Great, of course. What can I say? That'll be nice.
So Milko, we'll end the interview here. Congratulations on the interesting summer after retirement. For anybody planning their retirement now, Milko has set the standard pretty high, and we'll catch up with you at some point in the future. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thanks, Ned.
Anybody who enjoyed this video, feel free to hang on a minute and subscribe to the channel. We also have a number of contacts that will be published for other communication vehicles.